Okay, so we're going to create, we're going to look at using frame labels, and we're going to create a way of moving through well, we're going to use a book setup basically, so maybe ways of possibly having an interactive book where you could click on page numbers to move from one page to another of the book. So we're going to set that up. So as we've done previously, we'll start by setting up the layers. So we've got an actions layer, buttons layer and a pages layer. So I'll call it script. So that's where the action script is going to go. Okay, so we'll follow the usual convention and put the scripts layer at the top. So the next thing is to create the assets. So what we'll do is we'll start by creating the pages. Now the pages are nested inside a movie clip, so if we go to the library tab and create a new symbol, make sure it's a movie clip, we'll call it pages. And then inside here we'll just create a rectangular shape to represent a page. Okay, so one aspect of this is we're going to have 3 pages and they need to align with one another. So when we change from one page to another, they're all in the same place. So if you go to the Properties tab, this just gets you thinking about the X and Y coordinates, okay, the position of something on the stage. So if we click on the X and press 10, and I press enter, you'll see that the page shifts 10 pixels to the right. So we need to make sure that the X and Y are both set to 0. And what that does is it basically positions the page so the top left hand corner is aligned with the cross in the middle of the movie clip. So that's our first page. We go back to scene 1 and you see there's nothing there at the moment. Okay, so still inside the pages movie clip, what we'll do is we'll create the 3 pages now on the timeline. So we'll first of all name the layer pages. And we'll basically create an empty keyframe for each page. So if you click and press F7, that creates an empty keyframe. So on the second empty keyframe, now what we can, okay, so each of the pages, the background of each page looks the same. So if we just insert 2 more keyframes by pressing F6, and then we'll number the pages. So if we just use the text tool on the first page and just label that page 1. Darker colour so we can see it. Typo. Make that a bit more visible. It's page 1. And then using, it's a simple thing, but using copy and paste to paste that onto the second keyframe, just changing the number, and same again for page 3. If you paste in place, remember paste in place, and then it'll stay in the same place as the previous page names. So there you go, we've got pages 1, 2 and 3. So that's our pages layer. Now we need to create a labels layer. So create a new layer, name it labels. Okay, we need to select the layer and if you just right click over the frames and just select convert to blank keyframes. Okay, and then on each of these blank keyframes we need to place a label. So click on blank keyframe 1, go to properties, and you see under the frame properties here we have a label section. So in here, if we call it page 1, typo again, so page 1, press enter. If you look on the timeline you'll see a little small red flag appears, and that shows that that frame now has a name, okay, or a label. The same, again repeating with page 2, another typo, and page 3. Okay, so that's basically that the movie clip set up now. So if we go back to scene 1. Okay, so back to the main timeline. So on the pages layer we can drag in our movie clip. Okay, just align that. We could use the grid if we wanted. So if you go to View, Grid, Show Grid, use the Transform tool. Then we can use the snapping tools if we want to view snapping, snap to objects. We just all sorts of snapping options. Snap to grid, more useful. So just to line that up, I'm just going to scale it up a bit. Stretch it. If you're not happy with the dimensions of the page, like I probably like that to be a bit higher, don't stretch it on the main timeline. Go back inside the movie clip, and you can select the page and resize it. So click on frame 1, go to properties. Just deselect the text. So if I want it higher, so at the moment it's a square. Yeah, it's a square, it's 425 by 425. So if I want it a bit higher, change that to 625. And unlink the width and height would be a good idea. So change the width to 425, back to 425. It's probably more like it's probably a bit too tall. So maybe change it to 575. So that's more like it, I think. So we'll get that aligned to place. Move the text over to. So just noting the XY position of the text. So remember, because there are two objects on the layer, I have to select, deselect the text. Actually, thinking about it, it'd probably be better to duplicate the first page. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to delete the subsequent 2 pages. And I'm just going to copy this. Much easier, I think, in the long run. So paste in place. Just change the page number. Same again, paste in place, change the page number. Much more straightforward. Alright, so we've resized the page now so it's a more suitable size. So now on the main timeline we want to create the button. So we want a button for each page. So use the shape tool again. Try a different shape. Drag out a shape. So this is basically going to be our button template. We'll change the colour. Just remove the outline as well. So you probably remember from previous tutorials, to turn this into a button is F8. That's the create new symbol command, F8. So we'll call this button again, our basic button. Just change the type to button, obviously, registration point in the middle. So that's our basic button stored in the library. Okay, so this is page 1, and we'll have pages 2 and 3. So we can just copy and paste that twice. Sorry, it's pasted it into the centre of the stage there actually. So again, just try and line them up using the grid. Alright, so we've got our 3 buttons. Okay, now just wanted to highlight a problem. Well, you know, something that's maybe not ideal. I came across this with the basic player, I think it was. Basically, if you create a button template like this, and then you want to label the button to make it easier for the user to use, if you put text over the top of the button symbol, when the user comes to use the button, they can't click on the area that the text covers. So I think with hindsight, what would probably be more suitable is to create unique buttons for each page. So I'm going to delete the pages 2 and 3, and this first button will be our page 1 button. So again, just using the text tool, label it, place that over the top. Probably worth just recapping on, because we haven't actually used any specific button symbols yet. We've used movie clips and can use those as buttons up till now. The advantage with the button is it has its own specific type of timeline with over, down and hit states. So what we can do is we can make the button respond to the user's mouse when it's over and when it's clicked. So if we insert keyframe at over, you know, just on a simple level, we could just change the colour of the text, and the user mouses over. How do you pronounce that? On the down, again, we can change. Change the colour. Well, insert a keyframe first. Maybe change the colour again. Or maybe change the background this time. So just simple changes that respond to clicks. Now the hit state is an interesting one. That's the area that defines the active area of the button. Now if you leave that blank, it just uses the button, you know, the background of the button becomes the active area. So we're fine with that. We don't need to create a particular hit state there. Sometimes if you want, you can create an invisible hit state, but we'll look at that in time. Okay, so that's page 1. So what we can do is we can duplicate that first button and use sort of the graphics that we've already created. So we'll call this button 2. Okay, and then inside button 2, we'll just change the numbering, and then just duplicate one more. And change the numbering. Okay, and we'll drag those in. Okay, so we've got our tailor-made buttons now. Okay, so the next stage is to give each of the objects on the stage an instance name. So if we start with the pages, so we'll call that instance, that movie clip, pages, and then the buttons we'll call BTN1. Again, we can use copy and paste here. BTN2, BTN3. Okay, so all the objects on the stage have a unique instance name. So now everything's set up there. So now the final stage is to add this script. It's going to have the functionality. So the script itself is, hopefully the structure of this is fairly recognisable, so I'm just going to remove that because we don't need it. So again, I mean, each of these blocks, this first block is repeated with small changes. Very first section of script is to stop the animation playing through. Because if we were to test this at the moment, it'll just play through. The animation inside the Pages movie clip will just play through. See 1, 2, 3 on a loop. So first thing is stop that. So what we're doing is we're adding a stop action, but we are addressing it to the Pages movie clip. So if we put Pages stop. So basically we're attaching a stop action to the Pages object. So we refer to this now as an object. So if we test that, hopefully that will work. So again, it's good to test as we go. So that stops that, stop the animation playing through. And obviously, like previously, all the script now in Flash goes on. It can only be attached to a frame, so we'll put it all on this one keyframe on the script layer. So the next section of script is, I'll just bring across. This should actually be very familiar now. The structure of this. So like we've done previously, we've addressed the object. So the first object is BTN1, button 1. We're adding the listener that's listening for the mouse click. We're telling it when it hears the click to execute the function. This is the function name. We've got the function here, and then we're making it clear that it responds to a mouse event click. And when that happens, we've got the Pages object. We've got the go to and stop attached to the Pages object. Now the go to and stop is familiar. Inside here, what we've done previously inside the brackets is we've put a single digit number which represents a frame number. So what we've done differently here is we can give frames names if we want, give them unique names or labels. So if you remember, just go back inside here. We've got these red flags, and each one of those is a frame label. Now just notice that my naming here, I've put page 1 with a capital P. It's a very common error or oversight where people maybe give a name, they use a capital at the beginning of a name, and then within the script they don't use a capital. So what I'll do is I'll just change that to a lowercase p. So if I go back to the script, it matches you see the lowercase p, page 1 in there. So it's basically what we're saying is inside the Pages object, go to and stop. See, if this was happening on the main timeline, we'd just have go to and stop. We wouldn't have to specify that this is the timeline. We're addressing the timeline that's inside this Pages object. You see, so we need that bit there. So we're saying inside the Pages object. So I'll go back inside the Pages object, go to and stop page 1, which is there. Okay, so if we test that out, this first one, hopefully now when we click on the button here, it will play that, it'll go to page 1. Well, in fact it's not going anywhere because it starts off at page 1, doesn't it? So what we'll do is we'll test page 2. So we can copy and paste, no problem. And we're changing names, so button 2, on click 2, and page 2. Okay, so that's all we have to change, just add a digit basically. So that's page 2. So if we test that, now there is an error. So and I've seen another error there as well to do with the button itself. So we need to change the button slightly as well because it's when the mouse over switches from page 2 to page 1. But we'll worry about that in a minute. We'll concentrate on the scripts at the moment. So try and work out where the problem is here. It's saying frame label page 2 not found and seen. I know what it is. It's the same problem we had. It's the frame label, isn't it? So if you remember, I click here. So page 1 changed to lowercase, that'd be fine. But I didn't change page 2. It's still upper case P, isn't it? So we need to alter that. Do the same with 3 while we're at it. Okay, and hopefully that's diagnosed the problem. Correct diagnosis. Yep, so that's okay, so they're working now. 3 isn't working though, so now we need to work out why 3 doesn't work. So we go back inside, let's check the animation. So yeah, there is a page 3 there, but it's not finding it. And we've changed that to lowercase. So this is good practice, is this problem solving. You do all the time, you know, well, you do it when you're creating animations. You do it when you're adding script. So look at the script. Now pretty easy to spot what the problem is there. I haven't put in the third block, have I? So if we copy that, paste, and we need to just alter that to 3. Page 3. Okay, so hopefully that will all work now. Page 1 is fine, that's where it begins. Page 2, page 3, so that's fine. We just need to go back to these buttons, back inside the buttons, and alter the over state and the down state as well. The over state is a question of changing that to page 2, and the same with page 3, and then we're done. So obviously this is another way of creating non-linear navigation. So you know, you could have any kind of content in here, and then using frame labels, the buttons can enable the user to jump around from one section of the timeline to another. So again, really useful. Obviously when we did this scene, jumping from one scene to another, that was a different way of creating a non-linear, well actually I say non-linear, it's more linear than this in a way, because it was previous next button, so you're moving in a kind of linear way from one scene to another. So this is becoming more non-linear now, where you can choose to just jump straight to page 3 if you want. Okay, so that just final test of that, make sure the buttons are okay, so that's all okay. So that's fine, so that's our basic interactive book.